I was thinking about yours this morning. Yours?
It's only allowed to win Best in Show once a year.
So this is a good thing.
He can get another prize, but he can't get Best in Show. As an art.
So what did you do before you retired? So what did you start?
I needed to win last time, so he's allowed to get it. And yours should have won something. Thank you.
Yeah, clicky. Clicky and I started playing bridge like bridge. They didn't know. I mean, going to school. I've been going for 2 years already. I think this was just really right. I was a primary care doctor. And I don't actually paint. I'm doing watercolors. Because I look.
So I thought this was an interesting representation of the portrait, and the angle of the sitter is quite well executed, head tilted down, something that a lot of my students have a difficult time with. Just the axis of the forehead coming forward, the chin going back, the left eye, which is going back in space, I think was very well represented. And I was intrigued by the items that are hanging on the wall behind the figure. They had some mystery and also some intrigue about their association with the individual, which is related to the theme of study, I imagine, and she's a student.
Yes, drawing and painting she was doing.
Okay, so you don't see what she's working on because it's below the composition, but there's an interesting use of those items on the wall behind her, which I found compelling. And as I mentioned already, the axis of the head and the foreshortening is very well executed. So that was why I selected this one as an honorable mention. Talk a little bit louder. And, I thought this was very well executed. It's a good still life. There's a nice use of color, light, and something which I've always been interested in myself is the way that water reflects what you're seeing through the glass and how it distorts some of the straightness of the lines as it goes through the water. So I think that's very well executed, and the sense of space, design, and composition I think was very strong in this one, which is why it was selected as an honorable mention. So very good, especially in the use of color and the light, which you pick up against the shadows in those cooler petals of the flowers just underneath it. And moving from a warm light to a cool shadow, I think is especially pleasing in the way that that was executed. So that was why I selected it. Honorable mention. This landscape. And there's a wonderful sense of foreground, middle ground, background, and a loss of the clarity as you go further back in space. So spatially, I think it's really successful as a composition. It's intriguing the way that these forms, totemic tree trunks that block the initial entry but move us through the composition into the background. And I was intrigued in the way that one crosses over the supposed decline or little brook that runs through the center, and then into the midground, and then finally into the distance in what appears to be an autumnal landscape, very well executed. So that's why that was selected as an honorable mention, especially the way that the space is represented and the depth of field, which I think is very successful. So congratulations. Sort of merit, and I think it was very well executed as far as the portrait and the human form is concerned. There's a nice tilt to the head, which I think is well executed. There's also a good quality of the representation of the hands, the still life in front of the figure, and I think it's overall a very good representation of skin tones, light and shadow throughout the figure, and the drawing of the human form is well executed. So that's why this was awarded the Award of Merit.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Just a little, my granddaughter said, "But Grandma, my skin is much lighter than that." I already lightened it, so it was a little darker. She got like she was a little sunburned, but she's very good at art because I taught her a little bit when she was.
Memory scene of what I interpreted as a father and a young child at the waterfront. I thought about my father, who took me to Rockaway Beach when I was very young and used to dodge the pieces of glass on the sand. He did it very lovingly, and that was my upbringing in Queens many, many years ago. So I think there's a well-executed use of light and shadow, space as well, the crashing of the wave in the middle of the composition, and overall I think it's a very pleasing composition, especially the way that you pull out some of these cool purplish blues against the warmer browns, which I think is very successful. And you do the same thing in the man's shirt and the child's torso, moving from this warmer cerulean blue to a cooler ultramarine, meeting violet for the shadows, and those are very well executed in terms of how it moves from warm to cool in the shadows. So overall, very well executed, nice composition, good theme, and it starts to encourage a little bit more interpretation of the narrative as it's a springboard for one's own personal experiences of what we Long Islanders do so often, going to the beach. So that's why this was selected as an award of excellence. It was related to figure drawing, which I think is a separate category in the judging, which the three works behind me were related to the subject of the figure, even though there might be another figure drawing, painting on the side, and a portrait head. These were entered into a special category, and this was the one that I selected for the way that the figure is represented with foreshortened perspective. I like the centering of the back, the way that one can see the back side going away from us on the right side, getting foreshortened, and the leg, which is coming from the right side of her body behind that lower groin area, represented quite well in space in this very cropped and intimate composition of a green bathing suited woman. So I think that's very well executed as a figure drawing, and an introduction of color, but good use of line and a good use of the flattened shapes, which have a good sense of the foreshortening and the contours of the human form. So I think that's very well executed, and that's why it received the Excellence Award in the special category related to the human figure.
Thank you very much.
Did an excellent job in terms of creating the space, creating a sense of place. We've all seen places like this. The view out of the Long Island Railroad when I'm on the Port Washington line going into the city, looking to the right in the Bayside Harbor and right along the water there. I don't know if that's exactly where you were working from, but it looked very familiar to this Long Islander. And I've seen places, swampy marshes, much like this, right on the border of Douglaston, Bayside. Is that where it was?
Yes, well, it's
Or is it
really,
invented?
it's not any place in particular.
Working from experiences and from
Right,
memory. Okay, it's also a very good use of the medium. These are colored pencils.
Yes.
Which are blended and softened, and the softness of the colored pencil gives it a good sense of atmosphere and also spatial depth from moving from the foreground to the middle ground to the background. There's a little bit more linear aspects in the immediate foreground, and then you lose that in the distance. So it creates that wonderful sense of space, which I was talking about in the landscape opposite, which starts to obfuscate what's on the horizon further away. So good use of color, good use of light and shadow, and as I was pointing out with some of the warm and cool colors in the beach scene, This also has a really good sense of these yellowy greens in the light and these bluish greens in the shadow, and purple, violet colors, which have a very pleasing quality of the exchange between warm and cool color to create your shadows and this passage of space. It's also very inviting in terms of the composition, moving in a zigzagging pattern and moving into the distance in something that Japanese woodblock artists would do frequently to create this spatial depth from midground to background in a zigzagging, or what they call ukiyo-e, which you've probably heard me say a couple of times, and I don't speak Japanese, but it's the way that a Japanese artist would create spatial depth from the foreground to the middle ground to the background, zigzagging all the way through, and I think it's very successful in that regard. So very nice job, and that's why it received the award, the fanciest ribbon, first place.